Okay, guys, am I audible? Yes. Uh, right. Okay. So today let us speak about querying command line. So how to query Azure CLI? How to query Azure CLI for specific results? Okay. Examples. Give me the names of VMs in the resource group. Okay. So I'm just giving you some examples so that you will come to know where I'm trying to speak about. Okay. So or you want to write a query saying that give me the public IPs of the VMs in the VMs, the VM. Okay, whatever it is. So now generally when we query, we get a hell lot of information. You don't want all. What you're basically looking out for is you're looking out for a specific information from that query. So how do you basically get that? This is exactly what we are going to look at today. And for that, okay, right, 1 minute when. Not sure why it is. There is a wire. One minute. I'm just cross checking my network. Uh, Ethernet. Yeah, good. So now I don't think so we should have an issue. Let us just cross check because we'll not have problem with the quality of. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. That should be more than enough. Uh, good. So that should satisfy. Not sure why again it is connected to Wi-Fi again. Right. Uh, Fine then. So today's agenda in our classroom is to understand how do I write queries so that I can search out or get some filters or get some particular results. Okay. So to do this, what are the prerequisites which we require? Prerequisites, or I'll write it as prereqs, easier term. Okay. The prereqs is you should have an understanding of JSON. For the people who don't have an understanding of JSON, you should have received a mail from Quality Thought already, which has a link to the JSON tutorial. Okay, so that is the only prerequisite which we will be doing. So what we will be learning for querying. For querying this, we will be learning something called as JMES path. So JMES path. So this is exactly what we learn, right? So for JSON there will be structure, and we will be querying the path of that structure to get the stuff whatever we are interested in. Okay. If you have not received, please write a mail to, for the people who have not received a mail, write a mail to qualitythought.in saying that you want JSON tutorial. Okay. Saying you need JSON and YAML tutorial. I'm just writing it. Go through that. This I have spoken about it yesterday itself. Kiran, you should have looked into it yesterday itself, but still it's okay. Right. So now let us try to understand what this is all about. So first what will I do is, let me go into portal, log in into Azure portal. Okay. So if I basically look into virtual machines, okay, I have one virtual machine. So how do I basically query a virtual machine? Azure CLI. We will go to the reference. In reference, what we are trying to basically search out for is virtual machines, and what I want is list. So if you see AZ VM list, I can basically what do you call, query it by the resource group or whatever it is. But for now, let me basically restrict my query to, okay. So scenarios. Okay. First is ensure you have at least one VM in your Azure account. In your Azure account. Okay. Now, basic queries. Okay. Right. Now the second thing is write a query to get the list of VMs in Azure. Okay. So for that, I'm quite sure that we have found out the query just now. I'll be using AZ VM. Okay. I can use list. Okay. If I want a particular machine, I would have gone for AZ VM show. But let me go with AZ VM list. So I'll go to Azure. Okay. AZ VM list. Now, while you are querying with AZ VM list, scroll down. Okay. And then whenever you query anything, okay, this one. Whenever you query anything in Azure, okay, you would obviously get, right, you will have two kinds of stuffs. There is something called as global parameters over here. Okay. Uh, Okay. What is the most easiest thing which I could have done? Okay. Right. So let me basically highlight this. Right. Right. For every query, you will have optional parameters, and similarly, you will have something called as global parameters. Right. Any query. Let me go to Azure. Remember, I'm not going to speak about optional queries, global parameters again through in Azure. Okay, I might be using them throughout, right? Because when we learn databases also, when we use the CLI, we'll basically get it. Okay, and now in this global parameters, if you basically look at it, okay, the thing which can help us right now is this query, and that is what we'll be going to use to narrow down on the results. Okay, navigate to the documentation page and look out for global parameters. Let it be any query, the story is same. Okay, and I think my images are 30 AZVM 30 and 31. So dot slash images slash AZVM 30.png and 31.png. Right. Now, whenever you run any query, you will get some results. Okay. So copy all of that result, okay, into a file. Or what you can do is, okay, let me write it. Okay. To write a JMES query, use the global parameter hyphen query. Okay. Here best practice. Initially, whenever you are starting, okay, for beginners, okay, store the output of the command in the JSON file. So, for example, what I'll do is I'll go into cd c colon temp, okay, make dir Azure results. I'll get into Azure results and I'll execute the same command azvm list, but I'll send the output of this to a file, which is redirect the output of this to a file which I am calling it as azvm list.json. Now what happens? The output of the command will be basically sent to that file. Now let me open this file in Notepad++. So I think, so our structure is, initially it starts with square brackets. And then within the square brackets, you have a curly bracket. Now, if you want to understand what a square bracket and what a curly bracket is in the case of a JSON file is, JSON file, square bracket stands for array or a list. And a curly braces basically looks out for object. Okay. In a JSON, okay, square bracket stands for list and a curly braces stands for objects. So let us assume that I want to display name of this VM. That is the only thing which I want to display. So Now, if you go into JMES path, they will try to tell you how do you write a query and all of that stuff. But let us not get into all of that stuff. Let me simply write a query saying that AZVM list, and then I'll write hyphen query. So in query, generally whenever you are writing a query, use quotes. Use quotes. Okay. So the best way to always put this is you can put either double quotes or single quotes, whatever that makes sense to you. Okay. AZ VM query. Okay. Right. So let me go with single quotes at this moment. And then what is the initial structure which we had? We had array. In that array, I'll put star. Star means everything. Let us see what happens. So you will get the same stuff. Whatever you got there, you get the same stuff. Okay, fine. Now what is that I want? I want name. Where is the name? In the square bracket. Okay, there is an item. There is an item. Okay. So in the square bracket, in which item? In the first item. So I'll be writing AZVM first item. First item means you start from 0. Dot. Okay. Let me write it as name. So did I got Nagios? I'm not sure how many of you have understood this. So I am going with the JSON. I'm following the structure. So if you see, this is my first object, right? So in the array, first element, okay, I have something called as name. Now let us assume that I want the username. Okay, I want the username. So how do I write it? Okay. Okay, let me write some queries. Okay. Get the names of the VM of the first VM. So how did you write it? AZ VM list hyphen query, and then there was a square bracket, and you are looking out for the first item, so you start from 0, and in that there was a property called as name. Right? So this is exactly what I have done. So you might ask me the second question saying that, okay, get the names of all the VMs. Get the names of all the VMs. So how do I get that? So the story is very simple. Rather than using 0, use star. Star means every item. Star means every item. Am I clear on this? Okay. Okay. Why we started with 0 in the square bracket? Because array, generally when you go with the arrays start from 0. They don't start from a position 1. Okay. Index is 0 always. That's how arrays work. Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. Now to test this stuff, what we will do is, okay, let us write one more query now. Okay. Write a query to get all the resource groups. So what is a query to get all the resource groups? AZ group list. And I will store that in a file which is called as azgrouplist.json. Just because I have to understand the structure of the response. Okay. Now, if you basically say notepad If you have Notepad++, you can do this. If otherwise, you can open the same stuff with Notepad++. If you see, I have a square bracket. In this, first item, second item, third item, fourth item, and a fifth item. So, if I want to know the first resource group's name, so I might say AZ group list hyphen hyphen query 0 dot name. Okay, I got DNS. If I want all the names, then probably I might be writing it as star dot. Am I clear on this? Is there any doubt so far? Okay, right. So, what will I do now if I want to basically, right, show the name as well as location? What is that I want to show? I want to show name and location. First, let me write these things. Okay. So, write a query to get all the AZ group list. Okay. Write a command. Okay. Write a query to get the last resource group's name. So, the last resource group AZ group list hyphen hyphen query. Okay. -1 gives you the last one. Okay. So that's how this stuff works. Okay. Dot name. So if you see last name was Nagios, let us see what happens over here. Is that getting Nagios? Yeah. This is all from JMES path. Right. Okay. Write a query to get all the resource group names. So to get all AZ group list hyphen hyphen query and star dot name. Okay. So now let us see what happens if I don't put star. Nothing happens. Okay. But star is generally people tend to put that, right? So even if you don't put star, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. Am I clear on this? Right. Now what that I said? I wanted resource group and its location. So you go over here. So every resource group has a name and it has a location. So I want these two things to be displayed. Okay. How can I display that? Okay. Write a query to display resource group and its location. Okay. So AZ a group list hyphen hyphen query. Okay. And then dot put one more square bracket. Okay. Yes. One more square bracket. Okay. Which is, you can tell me whether it is a good way of doing it. I'll speak about it. Name, comma, location. So are you getting it? But this looks foolish. This doesn't look very good, right? So uh, when it will look good? Okay, when I make a small change. Okay, so there is one more interesting thing in the query in the global parameters that is called as output. So this looks very good when my output format is. Is it looking okay now? Yeah. The default format which we have been working so far is JSON. Okay. But the problem with JSON is JSON doesn't look very good. JSON, this kind of stuff doesn't looks very good. Okay. So now let me try to write the same thing in a different way. Sorry saying this. Okay. Okay, I'll put a square bracket again. This will not work out. Okay, because whenever you are putting a square bracket means array. Array cannot have a name and two different values. Array can have only one value. Okay, so this looks much better. So you're trying to tell what is your column name and what is your column value. Okay, you can use this. You can use this, or you can also use this. Okay, without this for. Okay. For all of this, only one thing is extremely important. You understanding the structure of the output format. If you don't understand the structure, there is no point in speaking about all of this. In square bracket, can I put in 1? I didn't got. Yeah, you can put in square bracket, you can put 1. Then you will get the second item's region and name. So for example, if your question is, okay, I don't want everything. I want only the first item's stuff. Okay, first means second. Then you will get only second item's details. Okay, so that is one thing which is basically one way of looking at it. The other thing which you can do is you can do this. Okay, let me put this one. I'll show you something interesting. So yeah, so this is all. Now if you see it is printing alternative DNS and then network watcher group and then Nagios. If you want it in a reverse order, then you can go with -1. So in the bottom we see Nagios, but now it will try to print Nagios first. This is all taken from Python. Okay, so once you learn Python, you'll become familiar with this kind of slicing is what it is basically called as. Okay, right. So let me write these queries for you. Okay, so you can basically put ::2 and in the place of star ::(-1). Right. Yes. -1 means last but one. That is the last item. Yeah. Am I clear on this? Okay. Now let me go with star. Okay, let me put it in this way. Now let us assume that you want to display. Okay. Uh, I'll put it in this way. Filtering the data. Okay. Right. So write a query which will show the resource groups, which will show the resource groups from what are the locations which I have? Central US only. So if you see, I have a query, and in this I have a resource groups which are DNS is from Central US, SMTP is from Central US, and Nagios is from Central US. And I'm not looking out for an order. I want to basically write a query which basically works out in some way so that it will basically filter out the data on based out of some condition. So let me try to write that. AZ group list hyphen query. Okay. Now in this query, okay, I'll try to use double quotes on the outside. Okay. And I'm going to tell that, okay, let us just look at structure. Okay. For every item, okay, for every item, there is something called as location. Let me see if I can do that. Inside every item, inside the array of every item, if there is something called as location, whose value is equals to Central US. Okay. Now, let us see what happens. So, did you got DNS, SMTP, and Nagios? And then you can continue. You can try to tell that for this, I am interested in only looking at, okay, name colon. Sorry, saying it. If you want it to be in a tabular format so that it is very easy for you to understand, you can put it as output as table. Are we clear on this? We can write queries like this also. We can write a queries like this. Alright. So first let me write it in this way. Alright. So for this, AZ group list hyphen query. If you understand, in the array we used to write, okay, over here directly star or location, or now here we are writing a query. Query starts from question mark. I am trying to tell that when location is equal to whatever location which you are interested in, Central US. Okay. So this is the first thing. Okay. Now format output. So formatting is what we have been doing so far. So I'll take this and then I'll try to tell Central US, and in this what I'm interested in is I'm interested in name colon name. Okay. So if you want, you can change the output format hyphen output. You can put it as table or TSV, whatever it is, tab separated value. Right. Alright. Ah, oh, I missed one thing. I should use double square brackets on the top, on the outside, and single colons in the inside. That is where I messed up. Okay, let me correct them. Right. So am I clear on this? Now, I can also write a query which says, okay, not equals to. Now, are you getting the other two? Okay, right? So you can go on and on, man. There is no limit to it. Okay, right. So let me write some other interesting functions. Okay. So this you generally might not use it, but still I am writing. I am using a function called as length. It tries to tell that you have two resource groups which do not belong to central US. And three resource groups which belong to central US. Okay. And now if you remove this query and put this as star, let us see what happens. It tries to tell that, okay, I don't know what you are trying to tell. Okay. So location, length of. Okay. It is trying to tell that I don't know what this is because that is an invalid JMES path. Okay. Right. Let me put it in this way. Question mark. Okay. What is the value which is basically present over here? Okay. Properties dot, what is it? Man, question mark properties dot provisioning state is equals to, it has to be succeeded for all the resource groups. Let us see what happens now. So did you got all the five? Yeah. So you have functions like start, contains, start with, ends with, and all of that stuff. We generally might not use it, but we will definitely query out or filter out our results. We'll definitely query out or filter out our results. Okay. So let me also write, okay, using basic functions. Okay. So write a query. Okay. Okay. Write an Azure CLI to find the count of resource groups in central US. In central US. So how do you do that? AZ group list hyphen query. This will try to tell you all the resource groups in central US, right? Okay, we'll just try to tell length of. Okay, as simple as that. You'll basically try to tell length of. Okay, fine, man. So we can basically go on and on with this. There is no end to this, but the whole point is uh, that you can do anything. So, for example, let me do it in this way. So, AZ group list Okay, I don't want all of this, and let me put it as output as table. Okay, so what should I basically put? Okay, so I'll try to show me all the groups, okay, where the output is in table format or whatever format which you are interested in. Hyphen hyphen query, okay, and question mark, okay. You are trying to tell with, okay, uh, starts underscore with, starts underscore with, okay, location, okay, location starts with something called as central. So what are the things where location starts with central? I think central US, central US, central India, central US. So apart from network watcher, we should be able to get everything. Let us see if that works out in that fashion or not. So am I getting that? Okay. So you can go anything. You can basically do crazy stuff with respect to this. Okay. But at least whatever I've discussed in the classroom, if you can basically write a basic amount of queries with respect to this. Okay. Now for this, the only most important thing which you need to understand is the structure. So for example, if you basically look out for this machine, okay. So standard. So are you saying standard underscore VM size, standard underscore B1S? Okay. So let us assume that if someone asks you to write a query, okay, where your VM size, okay, of the machines is standard underscore VM size. So then your query will be something like AZ VM list hyphen hyphen query. Okay. Now just understand this. You have some value, question mark. Where is the value? It is present in hardware profile. Okay. And inside hardware profile, you have something called as VM size. So dot VM size is equals to, okay. What is the possible value which you are trying to look out for? Try to use single quotes inside and double quotes outside. Okay. And inside that, then if you want to show everything, just leave it like this. It will show everything. Okay. So for example, if I go over here and then try to run this, it will show me everything. Okay. But if I don't want everything and if I'm interested only in the name of the VM, so how do I get a name of a VM? So inside this, okay, there is something called as name and there is something called as location. So for example, if you want to display that, you would be writing something like dot curly VM name colon name comma location. Okay, or you can write it as region colon location. And if you want to write username, let me see if we can write username. So in OS profile, you should have admin username. Okay, so OS profile dot admin username. That's it. Okay, let me try to run this. Let us see what happens. Okay, right. If you don't like this idea, okay, one thing which you can easily do is, okay, add one more format where you try to put output as table. then it makes more readable, human readable. Or we have something called as TSV, tab separated format. Okay. So in this case, it would not look very much decent, but you will still basically get the value. If you want to understand it in a human readable fashion, table. If you are writing this query so that some script can understand, it is always JSON. It is always JSON. Okay. Now let me write that. Write an Azure CLI to get the VM name, location. Okay, let me also write public IP address. Public IP address and username. Okay, of all the VMs with size standard or underscore B1S. You can use AND statements also, but generally will not go to that extent. Okay. Now, where can I find the public IP address of this machine? Go and look into this. Okay, I think my machine is shut down, right? So that's the reason why I'm not seeing the public IP address. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me go select this VM and start this VM. Okay, right. If you want the location of RG, in that case, location equals to star will work. Okay. See, you are not trying to tell location equal to star. You are trying to tell that when location equals to. Okay, that is not, you are not asking for location, right? If you just want a location, then there is no need for you to do all of this. Okay. So you have to just try to tell, okay. For this, if you just want location, write a query which says AZ group list hyphen query. Okay. Star dot location. That's it. You will get locations. Okay. So if you want to get the location when the resource group name is Nagios, then you might be writing where question mark name equals to Nagios. That is how you'll do it. Okay. Right. Let me see what is the state. So once this VM is basically launched, I think we should have a public IP address. Yeah, now I have a public IP address also, right? So, right. Now what I'll do is AZ VM list question mark. What is that? AZ group list. No, AZ VM list.json. Yes. So then so what is the public IP address of this machine? Let us search for this in this. Oh, public IP address is not shown, is it? Then we have to combine. Good. Okay. So then what is the other query? Other query which you will write. Okay. I don't want to combine two queries. That is that you can do that, but I don't want to. You can basically what else? What is the other information which you want me to display? Okay. Disk size fine. Okay. Let us do one thing. Az VM show. Let me try this. Az VM show command. Okay. Okay. What is the resource group's name? Nagios, and the machine's name is also Nagios. Az VM show hyphen resource group is Nagios. Let me try to see whether this will work out or not. Okay, you have to give hyphen name also. Hyphen name. And what is the name of my VM? It is also Nagios. Let me see if I can get some more information from this. Yeah. It's almost the same thing, man. So you can get the computer name. Fine. Okay. So there is one thing which we can basically do now. Okay. All right. So provisioning state. Okay, let me put it in this way. What shall we find out for? Okay. All right. I'm just removing public IP address from that. Okay. Okay. And then I'll give you as one simple stuff around it. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So now there is one interesting command. Okay. Which is called as AZ network public IP list. Okay. So this machine has some, it will give you the public IP address. But, okay, AZ network public IP address list and AZ VM list will have something in common. So you can use the output of one command as an input to other to get this information. I want you to find out what that is. Okay. So this is an exercise for you. Write an Azure CLI query to get the public IP address of the VM. Okay. But remember, note. Okay. Combine two CLI queries. This is what you need to do. Okay. First, try to get some information from AZ VM list and then pass that information to AZ public network public IP address show. Then you will get the information. Find out what that is. You can use Google also if you want. Okay. I'm not going to show you everything, but I think you got you got a basic idea of what this querying is all about, right? Unable to see the resource groups which I created. Okay. Right. OS type can we display? Yeah, we can display anything that is on the list. Okay. If that is not on the list, you have to combine that with the with other command. Okay. So basically that is how you can you can get the information from. Yeah. So try to basically use AZ network public IP show. Combine that with AZ virtual machine list. Take the output of one command and pass it to other command. Then I think you should be able to easily get it. Easily get it. Okay. Right then. So practice all of this. Okay. Do we need to learn Python to master this? No. If you know Python, you will be understanding that filters, projections, and all of that stuff because this is heavily inspired from there. Okay. Right. That is especially for that square bracket stuff where I used colon, colon 2, colon, colon -1 and all of that stuff. Right. Okay, guys. So I'll be stopping it at that. Right. Tomorrow we'll be looking out for PowerShell, and in PowerShell, let us try to find out how do we write basic commands, how do we write basic queries, and then we have a hell lot of things to be still done. Okay, right. So I would assume that you are doing the activities up to date. Okay, because tomorrow I'll be speaking about PowerShell. Day after tomorrow onwards, I'll be speaking about virtual machine scale sets, load balancers, and then we will be getting into extensions. We have to understand the cloud in it. Okay, so these are the topics that we have still to work on. Okay, fine, sir. So I'll stop it at that. Thanks, man. Thanks for your time.